So if you'll just introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you do, and a little bit about your background, how you got here.
Okay. I'm Josh Hansen. I'm the director of the Casa Shalom Orphanage here in Guatemala. We have been here for 3.5 years. We came here straight out of college. We moved a week after we graduated. The Casa Shalom was something that we sort of grew up with. My father-in-law, who was my pastor growing up, was friends with one of the directors that was here in the late 90s and early 2000s, and our church has been coming here for like 12 years. So it was just something that we sort of grew up with, we're a part of, and when we were graduating, my wife wanted to do something like this, and I quickly learned in marriage that a happy wife is a happy life, and so I agreed to do it for a year, and we both quickly fell in love with it, and that was 3.5 years ago. So.
Okay, now tell us a little bit about what is the mission of Casa Shalom? What specifically do you do?
Here at the orphanage, we take in kids through the local family court system, sort of like in the States with foster care. If a parent or guardian is abusive or neglectful, an alcoholic, a drug addict, and can't take care of their children, their kids need someplace to go. And here in Guatemala, there's not foster care, so your kids end up in an orphanage. And so we have 56 children. About 15 of them are actual true orphans that have no family, and the rest have a family. Their family just can't take care of them. So we take them in whatever sort of condition or background they come from. A lot of them at 10, 11 years old have never been in school. We put them in school. A lot of them are near the point of starvation or malnutrition. We feed them, clothe them, and being a Christian home, we teach them about Jesus.
Now, how do you get your funding? I'm always curious about that. You have some support, which is significant and gives you sort of the base level foundation, but you need so much more than even that support can give.
Right. It costs us about $17,000 to $18,000 US dollars a month to run the orphanage. We get about $8,000 to $9,000 of that from the Church of God, who we're associated with both in the U.S. and here in Guatemala. There's about $1,000 that we raise every month through a child sponsorship program that my wife and I started, and the rest of it is just every month trying to get the word out, contacting local businesses, contacting churches in the States. We get about 15 short-term groups that come and visit for about a week or two. Each group, and a lot of times they'll bring down money to do maintenance projects, replace roofs, paint, that sort of thing, and then a lot of times they'll bring down a donation for the home as well. And so it's just about every month trying to get the word out, trying to find new people to donate, because you can't go back to the same people every month.
Right. Yeah. So. Now, your model for running this orphanage has changed over the time that you've been here. I believe when we were talking the other day, you told me that at one point all the schooling for the kids took place, or most of the schooling took place here on the campus or on the site. But that's changed in the last couple of years?
Right, yeah. When we came here, there was a pre-K through 9th grade school functioning on the property. It was actually in the building right behind me. And we had about 150 children total. About 40 of them were our own kids. 40 came from a local orphanage where all the kids have HIV, and the rest came from the surrounding community. It had been sort of designated as a school for low-income families, because everyone in this area is a low-income family, so tuition was very low. Because of that, we were losing about $1,200 a month, which negatively affected our own kids and their quality of life here at the orphanage, because everything that we had to pour into the school was less we had to pour into the home. And so 2 years ago, they opened a brand new school right down the road, and all of the local kids went there. And so it was going to be only our 40 kids in the school, and so for economic reasons we had to shut the school and send our kids out to local public schools, which they actually enjoy more, because a lot of our kids, or all of our kids, they lived here, they went to school here, a lot of times they would do church here, and so even though we have a very large property, they felt enclosed, so now they get a chance to go out every day and interact with kids that are not part of the orphanage. So.
Okay. And moving forward, do you have a specific time frame that you and your wife will be here? You've just had a child, 10-month-old, beautiful baby girl. or do you see that as sort of an open-ended, we'll just see how things go?
Right now, we had originally signed up for a year, and we signed up for a second year. Now we've sort of taken off any sort of time commitment. We hope to provide stability to the orphanage. In the 3.5 years that we've been here, we're the 4th director.
Okay.
And so that negatively affects your donor base every time there's a change in leadership, because they feel that your organization is unstable.
Yep.
So my wife and I are trying very hard to get back those donors that left, to find new donors, and the best way for us to do that is to stay.
And you have expanded. You mentioned that you had 40 a few years ago, and now you're up to 56. Do you plan to continue to expand?
Yeah, the goal this year is to have 70 kids.
Okay.
So since January 1st, we've taken in about 15, and we need to give our houses a chance to sort of recuperate from that, because you have kids who have been here a long time and are used to rules and structure, and then you have our brand new kids who are straight off the street and never had any sort of structure in their life, and so that sort of disrupts the home. And so we need to give them a month or two to sort of get accustomed to order and rules and a schedule, and then we'll start taking in more kids. So.
Yeah. What is the biggest challenge? And I guess let me phrase that in really from two perspectives. One on the personal side, and the other is on the professional side. For being a director, third world country, having only half the funding, what do you face in terms of the biggest challenges?
Personally, the biggest challenge is just a completely different culture, and the way of doing business here, the way of interacting with people here, the way of leading here is completely different than it is in the States. For example, I couldn't just walk up to one of my employees and say, hey, could you do this for me? No, I have to say, good morning, how are you, how's your family? A simple request can take, 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, going to the bank to take money out has taken me an hour.
Yep.
So it's just a different culture, a different style of life that it's a much more laid-back style of life and a much more formal lifestyle than it is in the States, and so you have to adjust. And if you try to run your business or run our home as an American enterprise or in an American style, it's going to fail, because you'll offend everyone that works for you. So that's the biggest personal challenge, because I'm a sort of get it done quick sort of guy, and that just doesn't work here. For example, they're putting some bars up in our windows right now, helping to improve security, and we contracted with them November 20th of last year. They were supposed to be done January 15th. It is now the end of February, and the end is not in sight. Okay. But that's completely normal.
Sounds like a career for somebody.
Yeah. Business-wise, the biggest challenge is that we only have half of our funding.
Okay.
And so $18,000, we have about 9 or 10 ready every month. Finding $8,000 or $9,000 a month is a challenge, and we've been very blessed, and we've had a lot of success, and there's a lot of people that want to help this country. They want to help orphans. Having an orphanage is a pretty compelling, thing. But it's just a matter of getting the word out, proving to donors that you're a reliable, trustworthy organization, and then providing, feedback or things so that they can see that you actually use their money for what you said it was going to go to. So it's a matter of, like we had a young girl who needed surgery. We needed $1,000 for the surgery. First, it's about getting the word out. We put it up on Facebook. Within 5 minutes, there was somebody saying, "I'll give you $1,000."
Wow.
Which is incredible. But then it's taking the child to the doctor, taking pictures of the child at the hospital, sending them to the donor, sending them lab results if they want. Just making sure that they know that you use that money for what you said you were going to use it for.
Right.
So that's the biggest challenge from a business sense, is just finding the money to feed our kids and to send our kids to school every month.
Yeah.
So.
Well, very good. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.